All righty, folks, let me just say she's back. The one and only Beth Traverso is back. She's been gone for a couple of weeks doing some family stuff, which is always fun. But you know what? Real estate's moving and grooving. We've got interest rates up 50 basis points or more. So I want to talk about what is happening right now, and then we will get into the March numbers. Beth, what's going on?
Yeah. Hi, Michael. So nice to be back here with everybody. It was fun to travel a bit and but it's good to be back home and back in the saddle, so to speak. And it's been interesting because rates did pop in that
Yeah.
week that I was gone. And
You leave the country and rates go up. You can't leave
yeah,
anymore.
I know. And I did my best to not be, plugged in that much when I was gone. So I had like some
Good for you.
catching up to do when I got back. I've never totally unplugged, um but it's been interesting because I'm not seeing anything skipping a beat here yet in the Seattle area.
Wow.
So is rates have gone up, no doubt, but I'm not hearing anything from our buyers being particularly concerned about that. I'm not seeing offers or
Yeah.
slowing
It's
down. I wonder if there's some fatigue going on, or maybe just a level of acceptance now where it's not the first time this happened, and it's going to vary from market to market, no doubt. But I think our extremely low inventory is feeding into that as well. Just the fact that
mm,
there's nothing to buy. If there was more inventory out there, it might be starting to pile up a little bit.
right.
Seeing it, very few cancellations. In fact, virtually none. We don't see too many around here because our offers that are accepted tend to be really airtight. So
Yeah.
people can't back out unless they're going to lose a significant amount of money. And because they don't usually have things like inspection contingencies or other easy out
Appraisal or
contingencies. Yeah, they
right.
may have an appraisal, but you can't just decide to get out based on that. It takes more than a whim to back out on an appraisal or a
Mm,
financing contingency. So I'm not seeing much at all going back on the market. It's pretty rare, maybe one
yeah.
or two out of 100 at most.
Wow.
And um, buyers don't seem to be, I mean, granted, things sometimes move a little bit slowly. It might be we don't see it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's where my head is
Mm-hmm.
rates have undoubtedly moved over the last 7 to 10 business days. Maybe the people getting into contract now are the ones that have rate locks, so they're not really
Mm-hmm.
impacted by it. Maybe. Um, so maybe it's a couple weeks from now where we see that. But the other thing that's interesting is in real estate, we have two parties. We've talked about buyers so far, but what about sellers?
Mm-hmm.
Does higher rates, it's wild, right? Higher rates cause people to stay put, I guess. Is that what we're still
Yeah.
seeing?
Well, the move up buyer seller is still very
Non-existent.
rare, almost non-existent. It's been that way for quite some time now, and I'm not seeing that changing.
Yeah, the ones
So,
that you are seeing are
mhm.
leaving the area, right? They're
Leaving the
taking the
area,
equity.
there's a divorce, it's an estate sale, somebody passed away, yeah, a job out of the area. Those are
Mhm.
still the ones that we're seeing more than anything else. That's who's selling. And so those people started putting their plans into place, at least mentally, some time ago. And so they're committed to just stay the course. And I don't think they're going to change their life plans unless
Right.
they had no other choice.
Okay.
So those people are just going to forge ahead no matter what. So, but
Yeah.
it is important to really keep a very, very close eye. The first indicator I see of a shifting market is if houses start going past the review date. Like if they have a review
Ah,
date
that's
set
right.
and
Yeah.
day 5 comes, day 6 it's still on the market, and they remove any mention of an offer review date, that's what tells me, oop, hold the phone. We got to change our strategy here. And then you'll
Yeah. Oh
start
my
seeing
God, it's not
people.
pending in 5 days. What happened?
Yeah, what? People get so I
That's
have to
funny.
make sure people stay grounded and realistic. Like, not every house is going to sell with a bidding war in a few short days. It might happen, but we have to be okay with
Yeah.
if it doesn't. It's you get one offer and it's a good offer. You need to be
Yeah.
happy with that seller. And
Yeah.
then sometimes it takes a little longer and people circle back around. That's often what we see too, is if something goes past the review date, day 6, 7, all those buyers that didn't get the other house that they tried to get that week circle back. And then sometimes you can get one or even multiple offers on day 6, 7, 8. So
Yeah. It's really interesting. I think you brought up probably the most important thing that frankly I missed, and that is we've been here before. And thankfully, or I know thankfully, but reality is we've been in a pretty messed up housing market for 2 or 3 years now. Certainly the last 18 months with higher rates.
Yeah.
7.5, which is I think what will be by the end of the day, still's not over 8. So, there's still buyers that may think that's good. It's not as good as 6, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. So it'll be interesting to look at April data when we get there. But before we do that, we've got to look at
Yes.
March data.
We
So
have March data. It's a couple weeks in the rear view mirror, but it's good to take a look at that and see where we are. One more quick thing I want to mention before we jump into that is that this time of year is typically when I start to see things start to shift anyway in our Seattle market. Like we start early with our rush season, and then usually around between Easter and Mother's Day is typically when I
okay.
see all of a sudden it starts to kind of shift a little bit.
And when you say
Not a
shift a
lot,
little bit,
but a
you're saying
little.
slow down. That's what you mean.
Slow down, which means
Okay.
to give some people some context, instead of 8 to 10 offers and 10 to 20% over list price, maybe it sells for one offer at list price, for example.
Okay.
So I'm not saying declining prices or anything like that, but we see our price gains happen in the early part of the year. And then they tend to level out over late spring and summer, sometimes dip a little bit in the summer and then bump up a little bit in the fall before going dormant, so to speak, over the holidays. So that's our typical seasonality. So we are kind of right around our peak seasonality right now. So I don't expect we're probably going to see huge price gains on top of what we're seeing right now, but it will be interesting to show you some of the gains that happened in March. So let's take a look at that if you want to do a screen share.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me first we'll start. So we've got our fun charts.
Who do we give credit to? Let's give them credit.
Northwest Multiple Listing Service. Thank you for providing this for us every month. It really gives us something really nice to talk about. So we'll start with our trusty chart, and let me get the screen share going here. Okay, starting with the chart. Can you see this here? And is it all on the screen?
Yep, you're good actually. Yeah,
okay.
Perfect.
Great. So this might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but what I'm looking at down here is at the bottom. So King County is the greater Seattle area that includes Seattle, Bellevue, and all the other areas around. What here we see is 17% fewer active listings year over year.
That is amazing to me.
Yeah. The new is down just a hair. These are the new ones. They don't give us a percentage on that, but you can see here it was 2,268 last March of 23, 2,166 in 2024.
Yeah, down about 4.5%.
Yeah, you're much better at that than me. Thank you. And the pendings are up just a hair, about 5% or so. And then
wait a second. So inventory's down 17. Pendings, which I equate to activity, is up 5%.
Yeah.
That means your days on market.
East side, though, this east side market where I am.
Yeah.
Pendings are up 19%. And look here, this is the most interesting stat I saw.
Look at inventory. East side. Inventory's down 35%.
35%. This is where I play most of the time.
That's not a healthy market.
No, so people expecting price crashes, I don't see it happening here. I mean, something would have to dramatically change. You
can't have a price crash with that activity. Your inventory is down. Oh my goodness.
So on the east side, a year ago, the median home price was a little over 1.4. Now it's 1,682,000. These are these people doing that's the bidding wars. That's how much people are bidding over list price, is making that to that increase of 19.2% year over year on the east side. And then there's less than 1 month of inventory. In all of King County, we've got a little over 1 month of inventory. So
that is stupid.
I know. In the city of Seattle, it's a little different, a little less extreme, but still really strong. 6.32 year over year.
So here's a question.
Down, but not nearly as much.
So I don't, these areas much better. What would you call the most affordable, what I don't call it, zip code or area?
Down here in the southwest King and southeast King, these areas here.
All right, let's look at Southwest. Okay, so
Southwest.
Activity's up 12. Pendings. Pendings down.
Up around 6 or so. These areas here. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that months of inventory. I mean, you get to 1.3 months of inventory. That's
Mhm.
that's the high water mark. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So again, I've been, hearing people talking about other markets where inventory is starting to stack, and that's really interesting. It makes me wonder, is that going to spread here? But I've also heard some of these West Coast tech hub areas are not experiencing what some of the other markets are experiencing with the building inventory. I don't follow the Bay Area too much, but I've heard
Yeah.
that they've
No,
got something similar going on there.
yes, that's what I see too. That's wild. King
Yeah.
County for the whole county is up 12.5% year on year.
Yeah. And
What did it didn't
19
it
running
peak at
stuff. Yeah.
$1 million? Do I remember
It
that or
peaked
was
at a
that
million, so we're still below the peak.
okay?
But it went from 840 to 945 in 1 year, a
Hmm.
year that was not a banner year, so to speak,
No.
with the rates higher.
And
So,
again, the $1 million print, that was the month where you averaged 12% of list price. That crazy month.
yeah, and I don't know if you want to go back to those charts. We could look at those if you want to check those
Yeah.
out.
I just think
Um,
it's wild.
I know it is really wild. So, okay, do you see the charts now, or do I need to stop the
I
share?
can. No, you're
Okay,
good. Yep.
okay, great. So what is this? Days to sell. So we're down to 5 days on market. So this is again where we're seeing the
Oh, yeah. So
median
first,
5 days. This is all of King County, by the way.
no,
Yeah.
this is a wild chart because not only
Mhm.
you're down at 5 days, you are down at the lowest level ever, and that includes that wacky time
Yeah.
where the average
Over
price was
here.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back
Mhm.
there. That's
This is
stupid.
when the
That is
rates spiked. Rates spiked, and then it took a while for people to gather themselves and figure out what the heck they were going to do. We went up to 20 days
wow.
or so. Well, it's got to be more. It's like 34 days is where it
Yeah,
peaked.
something like that. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then
You're
went
back to
back.
5.
Yeah. So now let's see, we'll do the list price, sale price to list price ratio here. This was that crazy chart that
I
we were
love that.
talking about, where we can see where it
Yeah,
peaked
look at
over,
that. That is
yeah,
dumb.
about 112 point something here. And
Oh,
then it fell off a cliff.
yeah. All the
So
way to 98%.
yeah,
Most
all the way
markets would
down.
be jealous.
Yeah, 98%, not the end of the world, right?
No,
And then now we're up to a more moderate 102.9%. So we're
that's
talking
crazy.
across all price points and all areas of King County. I think there's going to be some areas like East Side where this would be a higher number,
Mhm.
but we can look at, let's see, how about let's look at median sale price. So they're going
You're
to have to
heading
change
right
this chart
back.
here because we're getting up toward the top of this chart. So you can
Yeah.
see here now again, we're not at the peak. So if somebody purchased in May of 2022, that's when we were,
Yeah.
peak time before that's when
Yeah. Don't feel
that's,
bad for them. They have a 3% mortgage. They're doing
I
okay.
know that's why they're staying put too. It's like they don't have the
Exactly.
equity. They don't have the equity necessarily to sell, and nor do they want to.
No, they're not selling. Not selling.
So yeah, and then now we've kind of seen this jump since the beginning of the year, which is just like we see every year. It's the seasonality is
Mhm.
back. The thing that's not happening that we normally see this time of year is the inventory.
Yeah, let's look at that. What's going on with
Inventory not
inventory?
here. So let's see active listings, number of active listings. We could look at this. Takes a
Shout
moment
out.
to generate
That's okay.
here.
Shout out Northwest Multiple Listing Service. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is
Oh,
always so
wow. Look at that.
interesting to see. Yeah. This
So
was back.
so inventory is important, is what I hear we saying.
Oh, and yeah, no. And it's amazing how fast, even with the low inventory that we have in our area, even if it goes up just a little, it's
Yeah.
amazing how fast that can change so many of these dynamics. As soon as inventory starts to build a little bit,
Yeah.
the psychology shifts and buyers pull back. They get more conservative. They're not going to go crazy
How
on
far back can you go? Can you go
bidding
back like 6 or
wars.
7 years?
Yeah, we can go back as far as 10 years if we want. We could do
Let's do
7 years
7. Let's do
here.
7.
Yeah.
That'll bring us
Let's
back to like
see.
2017, 18.
Right, which I remember those being pretty healthy, good years. 2019, I remember being one of my favorite years, which is funny because that's when the inventory was the highest around
Look at
here.
that. Yeah. So yeah,
So
it's not abnormal to get
no,
above 3,000.
no. And
Okay.
I remember during this time of 2019, I remember talking with my team members about 2019 being a great year. And if I could just have that 2019 just repeat itself,
Yeah.
over and
Can you
over.
can you show me the peak
Would be
month? What
great.
month was that? What month was the peak? Was that
Let's
like
see this
November?
one here. This was October of
Oh, October.
2018. I'm trying to remember what that was the previous year. I'm trying to remember what happened that.
Well, that was
I don't know.
a rate hike. They were talking about bumping
Okay.
rates. That was the
Yeah.
recession. We were on the
Mm-hmm.
cusp of recession.
And then this was just bananas down here. I've never, 485 listings in all of King County.
Yeah, what is King County?
How
Like
can that
30 million
be?
people or something? It's
It's
crazy.
about 2.2
Which
million, I believe,
okay. All
so
right.
485, that's
That's not enough.
bananas.
That's not
I
enough.
remember when that, yeah, we were just recovering from all the craziness of COVID and trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to sell houses when you couldn't go inside and all that stuff.
Mm,
And then and people thought it was going to fall off a cliff and nobody knew what was going to happen. And everyone was really worried. And then everybody wanted to move all of a sudden. And then there was
yeah.
nothing for sale. And the rates were at 3.
Yeah.
And
Can you
that's
do
where we're like,
days
this is
on
how we get
market again?
this.
Can you do days on market
Yeah.
again for 7 years? Because again, I
Mhm.
want to compare pre and post.
Yeah. I
Because
love
again, we
these
got all the way down
charts.
to 5. Oh, look at that.
So you can see I don't know if there was a line for average, it's probably going to be somewhere around here,
And
around
what was the peak
10.
again? What month was that? Still November or whatever? Or maybe the following month?
February 2019.
Ah,
And
interesting.
I do remember it slowed down quite a bit around then because rates were higher.
Hmm.
And that was 5 something. I don't, have
That's fine.
I'm just going off my memory, but I remember at that time rates went up and people were like, whoa,
Yeah,
hold
it's
it.
pretty. Your so again, your experience speaks volumes. Look at January
Hmm.
17, January 18. That's
Yeah.
your hot season. You
Hmm.
start getting hot February,
See?
March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then summertime is when we start to see it go up a little bit every year. The
Mm.
interesting thing this year is we just haven't seen the new inventory.
Yeah,
So
this is
this,
all inventory. Like,
mhm.
where's the inventory going to come from?
Yeah, so even though these are rate sensitive, these spikes here were rates, but
Yeah, for
rates are
sure.
higher now. Does that mean I bet we probably will start to see things start to creep up a little bit in the coming months because the seasonality is going to cool off a little bit.
Yeah. Do
And
you
that
have
if the rates are higher, it will give us a little more inventory.
do you have like is there statistics for price cuts? Like, is there such a thing in
I
this?
don't think I have that on here.
Let's see.
And I don't think I don't think our MLS provides that.
That's
Or we
fine.
can
Let me
see
just
original price,
yeah, looks yeah.
but then it doesn't show the price
No.
reductions,
Well, actually, let's look at sale price to list
number of
price.
sales.
Sale price to list price for the 7 years. Let's see if it ever went
Yeah.
below 100.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did a couple of times
a
here.
couple of times
Again
in
in
19.
2019 where things went
Yeah.
a little under.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
a little under.
I can't
So never
believe it.
much
This is
below. If this went
yeah.
back more than 10 years, then we start to see where there were those days of the short
Mhm,
sales and the
mhm.
foreclosures where, yeah, everything was selling way under for a while there.
Yeah.
The
So I
glory
guess
days, if you will. It didn't feel like that at the time for a lot of people, but
so if we step back and look at this, we have an inventory problem. Um, to your very great first point, and I missed, we've been here before. 7.5% mortgage is not new, right? We're not coming off of
mhm,
3% where it feels
yeah.
new. We've been here. There's a lot of buyers who have been trying to buy in King County for years, and they're probably getting frustrated, right? So they're just going to do it. Um, yeah, it's a wild market, King
There's a
County.
lot of people out there that just want a place to live and they're beyond
It's all they
trying to
want, just a
time
place to live.
anything,
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, having a place to live is of course extremely important and trying to wait for I mean, there might have been at some point people waiting for rates to come down, but now remember in the beginning of the year when I was talking about 5 rate cuts, 6, how
Yeah.
many rate cuts? It just goes to show you even these experts really don't have any idea. They have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
So people that were expecting, oh, by the time March rolls around or whatever point rates are going to be back down into the 5s, so we should just hang on for that. I don't think anybody's doing that anymore. And there's a lot of
No, I
discouragement
think you're
out there
right.
too, because I usually sit on the seller side of things when we're reviewing offers. And there's a lot of people out there that have tried to get and lost a lot of houses. They've been
Mm.
giving it their all, getting clobbered, trying to it
Yeah.
breaks my heart. It really does. I'm a very empathetic person and I wish we could have all these people get a home. But there's some people out there that are just like, I don't care about anything other than I need a place to live. And
Mhm.
what can we do to make that
Yeah.
happen? And they're
Yeah.
just
I
throwing in
call that
whatever they
going,
can at it.
I call that going on tilt.
Yeah.
And
Going on tilt.
I think we're on the cusp of that, right?
Yeah.
Consumers over the years have taught me lots of things, and one of them is they can take a couple of shots, but eventually they get frustrated, then they
hmm
go quote unquote all in.
Yeah, and I've seen that. Sometimes we'll have a handful of offers and there'll be one or sometimes two that are just insane.
Just stupid.
And when I talked to
Just
the agent, she's like, "This is what desperation looks like, Beth. Like
yeah.
they need to get like, what is it going to take? I need a house. Like I'm going to have a baby in 3 months or whatever. Like I don't
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
care about
exactly.
anything other than like I need a place to live. We're renting. We're staying at my mom's or whatever, and they
Yeah.
just got to get a place.
Yeah.
So as long as there's enough of those people out there, and because there are people that again, it's the relocating people, not so much the move up. We're just
Yeah.
not seeing the move up. I
Yeah.
still talk to people once in a while that are wanting to do the move up, but and sometimes it can work if they have a lot of equity in their home that they're going to roll over, so it doesn't really make as much difference. But
Yeah.
for a lot of folks, it's
I'm
still
actually
tough to take
curious.
that leap.
I'm curious about your move up buyers. How many of them actually don't sell the first house and just make it a rental? Or maybe in King County, the price points that doesn't make sense. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's very rare. I don't know that I've had anybody in recent memory
Okay.
do that, even though I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. But then a
And that's what
million
I've
bucks.
done. But I'm an
Yeah.
investor. I have that investor mindset where I'm like, why sell the asset? But
Mm,
I think for a lot of people, they need that equity. If they've got,
sure.
say, $800,000 of equity, because we're talking these crazy numbers, right? They
Yeah.
need to roll that into the next house. Otherwise, they're just putting a minimum amount down. Their payment's going to be so much higher.
Yeah. Their payment would
And
be
the rents aren't
$12,000 a
enough.
month.
The rents are really out of whack. I mean, somebody might
Yeah.
say some people may say, and I'm not saying they're wrong or right, but some people might say it makes more sense to rent in our area because if you
Hmm.
can rent a house for
Yeah.
4,000 or buy it for 7,000 a month, it might make
Yeah.
more sense to rent a house and save that money. I wouldn't tell anybody that that's
No,
right or wrong for them, but
I think in some high priced tech oriented folks or tech oriented cities, some of these numbers are stupid. Right?
mm-hmm.
If you can rent it for 4 or you can have a
Yeah,
mortgage at 12, you know what? There's nothing wrong
I
with renting
know.
for a little while.
I've
So
had people come to the area saying, Beth, this doesn't make sense. The rent versus I'm like, yeah, but
yeah, you're
people
right.
want to get their foot in the door because they don't see it. And you can look at those charts and see like the history tells us that over time, because our ability to expand our housing supply is so restricted here in the
Yeah.
Seattle area, restricted by regulations, restricted by geography, restricted by
Yeah.
all sorts of factors, there's always going to be this shortage unless a significant amount of people move away. You
Right.
have to have a lot of people move away for it to make any dent. So it's going to continue to increase over time. And so for a lot of people, if they just want to put down long-term roots and
Hmm.
get some equity that they can then roll over, that's who's buying now. It's where they're rolling over the equity.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's first time home buyers buying these $1.5 million homes. Usually you've got two high earners buying together. But a lot of people, they're rolling over their equity from something and if you want to get that started, you got to start somewhere. And
Yeah.
so, and we've talked about in other videos that you don't have to buy the typical house. You can find there are still deals out there in every marketplace. I see them where something misses the mark. It's ugly. It's, you know, not
Yeah.
staged, needs carpet and paint, not the end of the world, but it's funny how those are the
Yeah.
ones that stay on the market with the price drops and you
Yep.
can come in and negotiate better terms. There's opportunities out there still. I don't want to be all
Yeah.
only discouraging to people. So,
Yeah. At the end of the day, King County is a very interesting market. I'm shocked that you're down to 5%.
yeah.
Your area down 35% in inventory and up 20% in price or whatever. It's crazy to me. If somebody wanted to buy or sell in King County, or better yet, get networked with other top agents across the country, how do they reach out?
Yeah, I love connecting with people from the One Rental at a Time community. I can be reached at BethTraversogroup.com, or if you're on Facebook or Instagram, you can find me just under Beth Traverso there.
Thank you, Beth. Have a
All
wonderful
right.
week.
Thank you.
Mhm.